Welcome back to All Things with Allah. I'm Allah. Today we're in the kitchen and I'm going to be doing my everything bagel sourdough bread. Oh, if you guys could only smell how good this smells. So good. This is probably one of my family's favorite, and when I do give it out, other people's favorite as well is the everything bagel sourdough bread. I've tweaked the recipe since the last video I've done, and to tell you the truth, I'm always tweaking the recipe. I'm always trying something new, maybe something better, different things like that. So I'm still learning as well. So don't think, oh, she's been doing this for years and I can't do it. No, I started in April and we are in June. So I'm still learning and I'm just giving you guys what I learned and the techniques that I learned. But we love sourdough bread at our house. I love the fact that I can bake it myself. We will probably never go back. We will probably never go back to store-bought bread. So I want to share it with you so you guys can be in the same boat as me. So all right, let's get started. Let's make some bread.
First, you want to make sure you have a good active starter. So you want to have nice, good bubbles. I will put a link on how I feed my starter and all that good stuff. All right, let's start. We're going to add 600 grams of room temperature filtered water. And here is how I test my starter. You can do this too. Just take a little bit and put a dollop onto your water and it should float just like that. That is how you know it is good, active, ready to go. I also like to wetten my cup before I pull the starter out so it doesn't stick to it as much. The water really seems to help so it doesn't stick too much. So we're going to add 250 grams of starter to our 600 grams of water. And then we're just going to mix it in. You can use your hands, you can use a spoon, or here I have a dough hook, which I highly, highly recommend if you're going to be baking bread constantly like we do, like I do at my house at least once a week. I would invest. They're not that expensive. So mix your starter and your water really, really well. Takes a few minutes, but it shouldn't take more than like 2 minutes at the most, probably less. So just make sure you're mixing it in super, super good. Again, you must have a good active starter. Now we're going to add our flour. So we're doing organic all-purpose flour, 600 grams. I buy mine from Costco, the unbleached, the Costco brand. I've used King Arthur. So those are the only two I've actually played with, and I really like the Costco one. And then I'm adding 375 grams of King Arthur bread flour. Again, organic is always best. So those are the two flours that I use. And I have tweaked the how much of each flour I used since my blueberry loaf that I did in my previous video. So if you guys are like, oh, this is different. Yeah, it's different. Like I said before, I'm constantly changing and tweaking the recipe. All I use is my dough hook here to combine my flour and water. And then I'll go in with a little bit of my hands as well. But you just want to get all that out, mix it in a little bit, incorporate as much as you don't want to have flour out. We're going to cover it and we're going to put it. I always like to use a warming plate. Even though it's summer, we keep our house pretty cool. So I like to use my warming plate. We're going to put it here, let it rest for a half an hour. All right, it's been a half an hour. Now we are going to add our seasoning and salt. Yes, I do not add salt now. In the beginning, I added half an hour after the starter and the flour had time to get to know each other, I guess you could say. So we're doing 20 grams of salt, and then I'm doing the everything bagel seasoning. I love, love, love this seasoning. I get it from our Amish store. And today I've decided I'm going to mix the two, but you can totally use just the everything bagel seasoning by itself. But like I said, today I'm doing these two particular ones. So it's a spicy one and a dill one, and I'm doing 25 grams of each. So if you don't have these, then just do everything bagel seasoning 50 grams. Don't go over. Trust me, I've done it and it messes up the dough. So I'm just going to dimple in my everything bagel seasoning and my salt. I will use a little bit of water just to help the salt kind of incorporate more in. And sometimes I don't. Sometimes the dough is very sticky and wet, so you'll just have to kind of see if the salt is getting incorporated in, or if you think you might need some water to help that out. But we're basically just kneading it in, folding it in, however you want to say it, stretching it in. We just want to incorporate it, combine it as best as you can. It will get a little tricky, as you guys can tell. It gets like these holes that create, but just keep working it. Keep working it and it'll be fine. I like to do these like stretch and throws and pulls just to get that elasticity in my dough going. And I've noticed that it really, really helps to incorporate it better. So this overall took me probably 4, maybe 5 minutes at the most. It shouldn't take you more than that. Just get it incorporated in there nice and well. Again, we're doing our salt and our seasoning half an hour after our starter and flour have sat together. So they say like the flour and the starter needs to sit together before you add the salt because the salt kind of screws it up. I've done it before, I've done it after, and I do find it better if you add the salt half an hour after. So again, just incorporating in as best as I can using your hands. I always do multiple breads. That's the reason I have a glove on because right after this, I'm going to another bread. And I hate like going back and forth and washing my hand. It's just easier for me this way. But you don't have to use a glove. You can totally just use your hand. And if your hand gets super sticky for whatever reason, just add water. Soak your hand in water, and that's it. Just make sure your hands are wet. It really helps. And I will kind of combine it into a ball looking type, and we're going to cover it, and it's going to go back on my warmer for an hour. After the hour, we are doing our first stretch and pull. First, I do the stretch and pull. Later, I will do coils, which I will show you. But we're going to play with this dough every hour. So it's been an hour, it's been sitting there, and now I'm doing these like you just stretch and pull the dough. This is in real time, so you guys can see exactly what it looks like. I did not count how many times I go over. I just kind of keep going until I can't go anymore, and I feel like the dough is going to start ripping, and we don't want that. You want the dough to be stretchy and pulley. You don't want it to rip. So we're just stretching and pulling. And at this point, you're also going to be combining more of the seasoning. So like in the beginning, if you notice some of the seasoning didn't get combined, it's all right. You're going to do that during your stretch and pulls anyways. So we're just going to go around, I don't know, maybe around 10 times. I think that's about where I was. But like I said, I didn't count. I just go around, go around, go around and make sure I get every corner a few times. But I just wanted to show you guys in real time how it works. And as you can tell, like the consistency of the dough is starting to change even with my stretch and pulls. So it does make a difference. It does help. So just keep going, keep going. And then I always like to invert it. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but I will make sure that like the top is a nice soft pillow looking ball, I guess, dough ball. So I always try to do that. So we're going to cover it and let it rest for another hour. Now, not everybody might not have the warming table like I do. Just keep it someplace warm. That's going to help. All right, so it's been 2 hours now, so we're on our second one. And now I'm going to start doing the coil. So you're like pulling it up, flipping it under, and letting it drop like that. So I call these coil pulls. I think they're just called coil. I don't know. It doesn't matter what the terminology is, as long as you get it done. And as you can tell, even from last time, the dough is so much more elastic. It's so different. Yeah, I know. I'm using my gloves because I was working on a sweet loaf and I didn't want to use my hands and going back and forth and washing them. And these are the only gloves I have in the house. So it makes it harder because these are like pastry gloves. But oh well, it is what it is. So as you can see, I already have some air bubbles there. But at the same time, what I want to say is sometimes you got to help the dough, as you can see I'm doing here. to get those coils going. And you don't do a lot. The first stretch and pull is where you're really working with it, but now it's like 3, 4 times, 5 maybe, and that's it. And now I'm just tucking it all under, getting myself that nice ball, nice shaped ball. I don't know, it's just a me thing. I like it to be unique. I like to be perfect with it. We are going to be covering it and letting it sit for another hour. All right, we are on our third coils. I'm done with the other bread, so now I can finally use my hands. Again, we're just pulling it, letting the dough fall under itself. And we're gonna go from each side a few times, and then that's it. So just like this. But it will get, the more you do it, the harder it'll get. Like the dough will not want to drop. So you kind of have to wiggle it and help it so that it does stretch out because you want it to stretch out. Just like that. And some people don't do these coils, they do only the stretch and pulls, which I did on the first set, but I like these better. I don't know. This just I like it better. My good friend Elena, she showed me how to do it this way, and I've been doing it since. So, and she's an amazing sourdough baker. She has her own place, her own bakery in Texas. I'm gonna add a link for her, you guys. She's amazing. She's taught me so much. I'm so grateful for all her tips and tricks. Like I said, I'm still learning, but I'm grateful I have someone to go to. We are going to cover it and let it sit for another hour, and then we'll do our final coil pulls here. So the fourth one, so it's been 4 hours, technically 4.5 hours, but we're just gonna be doing this here. Same thing, just from each side, wiggle it, help it get down. And on this last one, you're really barely doing anything. It's just, it's done, but it's just that one little extra. But as you can see, I barely did any. We're just gonna tuck it under so that it rests that way. And I know my camera moved, or I should say my bowl moved away from the camera. But if you guys can see, there's already some air bubbles there. So it amazes me what flour and water can do. All right, we are going to cover it. We're going to put it back on the warmer. And I actually shut off my warmer at this point and let it be at room temperature. It's going to sit at room temperature 3 to 4 hours, kind of depending on the temperature in your home, all that good stuff. As you can tell here, it's been about, it wasn't full 4 hours. Almost. It was like, I think 15 minutes shy. But as you can tell, it doubled in size. It is perfect, ready to go. Like I said, I shut off my warmer at this point and just let it be at room temperature, but the warmer is still kind of hot, or I should say kind of warm, so it does great. We're gonna lightly, I mean lightly, flour a surface where we are going to be dumping this beautiful dough out. And this is how it should come out. Your bowl will be clean. It just plops right out. This is how you know it is perfect and you did everything right. So it's almost like you're done. It's good. This is how you know. I also like to flour where I'm going to split it in half. So I'll just sprinkle a little bit of flour and then use my scraper here. The metal one is really good for cutting and scraping it off, and I'll divide it into two. This recipe makes two really good size loaves. So if you want to like divide it or, make it less, 3 times less or whatnot, if you just want to try it, you can totally just do the math and try it. So I kind of just gently pull it out, and then I don't have a method, you guys. It's just flippily floppy and here we go. I try to do as many, I should say, flips as you can so you can get some more air bubbles inside your dough. We are going to take some everything bagel seasoning, put it in a bowl. Would be good if this was open. There we go. Just put it in the bowl, and then this is going to be, don't do it with your hands. Oh, that's too hard. Oh, okay. We're just going to put it right in there and let the everything bagel seasoning collect it. That's going to be our top. This is our bottom, so I'm not putting any on the bottom. I just want it on the top. And just plop it right into your banneton. make sure it's floured, and then I just kind of pinch it together. Again, no real method. It's all good. It's all good. Maybe in the next video I'll have a method, but for now, we're just pinching it together. Good to go. I do cover my dough when it sits in the refrigerator. So, second one, same thing. We're gonna get all these ready, and it's gonna go into the refrigerator at least 10 hours, at least. It would be better if it was 12. I always usually do 12 and up. All right, morning of, bread is out. We are preheating our ovens with our Dutch oven in there. Now here's the new trick that I learned. Preheat your oven at at 550 degrees with your Dutch oven on. This has really, really helped me with my crust. So if my Dutch oven are in there, the oven's preheating at 550 degrees. I let it preheat for about 40 minutes before I get my breads out and start scoring and putting them in. So obviously here it's kind of hard to do a design because of the everything bagel seasoning. So I just kind of do whatever score is possible, just to get it done. And I have started using this knife over the sourdough little knives. I like this one a lot. I got it on Amazon. I will put a link in there. And then this one, we're just going to do another, just whatever score and another score on the side for that beautiful signature ear looking design. So, okay. So we get our Dutch ovens out of the oven and we are going to put our bread in there. And another thing that I started doing is I will put about 3 ice cubes in there. And I do one bread at a time because you don't want, oops, that fell out. Okay, get it? But it's super hot, so be careful. But you want the ice cubes to go behind your parchment paper and cover it right away because you don't want that steam to come out. So leave that covered and then do your next loaf if you're like me and you do multiple loaves. So let's go again. 1 ice cube, 2 ice cubes, 3 ice cubes. Sometimes I do 4 if the bread is big, but normally I do 3. I don't think it matters, but I would recommend to do at least 3. Now, it's going back in the oven, and we are actually going to turn down the oven now to 460 degrees. And we're going to bake it for 20 minutes with the lid on. This has really, really helped me with my crust. The crust is not as thick. Another quick tip. You see how I have some pans on the bottom? I actually have a stone and a pan on the bottom. I do that on purpose so I don't have burnt bottoms. I kept having burnt bottoms. It was driving me insane. Even though the rack was not at the bottom, I still have the burnt bottom. So now I put the stone on the bottom there. And as you can see, the Dutch ovens are not sitting on the stone. It's one rack up. So there you go. Then we did it for another 15 minutes at 450 degrees. You turn the temperature down again with the lid off, and they come out beautiful. Look at this, you guys. They are perfect. It's a nice thin crust, not like thick. The bottom's not burnt, and it comes out wonderful. It's amazing. Look at this beautiful bottom. Perfect. No more dark bottom. It's really nice. Hollow like you want it to be. Just overall perfect. And then slice into it. But like I said, wait at least, and this will be hard, half an hour before you slice into it. And now the big reveal. Amazing. It's perfect. It's soft, delicious. Highly recommend it. Well, thanks for being here. I hope you guys will try this recipe. I hope it works out for you. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, have a blessed day and happy baking.